Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. I wasn't sure if my sound was working.
Me neither. I always, when I get on, I'm like, I think it's working. We'll see.
Yeah, I had issues with it the other day, but I had to restart my whole computer. So, hi guys. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello, hello. Well, we're on just a couple minutes early, so I figured I saw people starting to pop on, so I figured I'd come on and wrap for a little bit before we got started at 10. They lost the game, Jeff, 11-9.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I saw Jeff. He was riding his bike out by the pool that we both happened to end up on the Tesoro campus last week at the same time as he was riding to check out a friend at soft baseball, and I was rolling to the water polo game. So,
Dan, I would suggest you purchase an electric bike. Best thing that's ever happened to me.
I'm actually getting one. I told Mel we need to get one because I want one for the barn. So on days that I don't have to actually, well, not like today, where it's raining outside, but where I don't have to be anywhere on an appointment, I'm going to ride the bike to the barn and back. And on days that I have to have an appointment, then I'll still have to drive because I have to get someplace else, right? But I'm going to start. I told Mel that's what I want for my birthday.
I want one of those too.
The house is
What brand?
literally less than 2 miles away from the barn, right?
Yeah.
What brand do you guys suggest? Have you done your research?
I got a Hemiway, which has been awesome.
I'm sorry. Tell me that again.
Hemiway, Himiway. It's been unbelievable.
And I have done zero research. I just want one that does it for hills.
This is relatively inexpensive and has got the biggest engine, so power is not a problem.
Awesome.
How heavy are they? I hear those bikes are pretty heavy.
They're very heavy, Ruth. This one is with the battery. It's a little over 60 pounds. The battery
Wow.
itself is 10 pounds. Battery is brutal.
I hope you wear a helmet.
Don't want to lug that around.
Of course, I wear a helmet.
Okay, some people don't.
I don't want to injure all the brain matter floating around in here. What's left of it?
He falls down one more time. There's nothing left either. He's at the end, man. Hey, Benito, long time no see. Welcome, Bob Costa, long time no see. Nolan, shorter time no see, but still a while. How's everybody doing? Kim Franco coming in from Houston. Bob Costin coming in from Lake Tahoe. Benito, I'm not really sure where you're coming in from, but I want to say you're in the IE, if memory serves me correct, but I'm old, so there's like 50-50 at best on that one. So welcome everybody, getting ready to get started here. Time is it according to Apple? According to Mac, my Mac and Apple, it's 10 o'clock and they now do control time in the world. So whatever time your phone or your iPhone or your iWatch or your pad says, that is in fact the actual time. I had planned on doing this outside today originally because I was going to have a crew working inside doing a remodel. We're adding a bathroom in and they're almost done in the final stages today, but it's wet and cold. So I'm going to be inside. So apologies if you catch a little bit of noise here and there from the inside or if my dogs bark or anything fun like that, but we're all used to it after Zooms these days. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to, one, come in here and hit the recording button. Oh, good. It is recording. And I'm going to, two, come on over here and hit the Facebook Live button. Give me a hot second, everybody. I will be right back. You can actually probably see me, but I can't see you. And it is starting and it is preparing. Drinking out of my Miami Starbucks cup today, thinking about warmer times. I feel like I don't live in Southern California like for the last month.
I know, so cold. Hi, Nolan.
Hey, what's up, Ruth? I love that photo.
I was in the rain this morning doing my crossing guard gig, so I'm in a baseball cap, so I'm not live. Sorry.
I have successfully messed up this Facebook Live posting 3 times in a row now. So we'll see if I can actually figure it out this time. Sweet, I'm actually on. 3rd time's a charm. I've managed to fail, #fail twice trying to get this thing set up to my Zoom. So I think I finally got it good. Okay, so let's get into it. Everybody who's on here, thanks for being here. Never really know who's going to show up on these days. And again, if you hear some noise, sorry, they decided, of course, they drill when I talk. When I don't talk, they take a break. So here we go. I know everybody who's on here, which is cool. So thanks for being here. Things I don't need to introduce myself, that means. Normally I'd be like, hey, everybody, I'm Dan, but you all know who I am. So don't need to talk about that. Where this idea came from, though, I will share that. Melody and I were talking about different training tools and things that we should be doing and talking about with our own crew right now. And this idea of 7 ideas that we would be doing right now. This idea of 7 things that if we were brand new in the business, right? Obviously, Melody's kind of hitting it out of the park right now. But if we were brand new in the business, because we're talking about this for other agents, what would we be doing? What ideas would we be leveraging, latching onto? And we sat down and I had a couple beers, she had a couple glasses of wine, and we came up with this really what we think is a cool list. And so I wanted to share it with everybody today because as you guys know, there are no real secrets in this business. It's not like, oh my gosh, Dan came up with something that I've never heard of in my entire life. He's reinvented the wheel, right? All we do sometimes is remind you that the wheel can go. It doesn't have to be stuck in a spot. Maybe we sand a little bit off. If it's a wood wheel, we sand it down just a little bit to make it roll a bit smoother. No new ideas, just ideas that we're gonna get put into practice here though, okay? Hold on real quick. Hey, can you do me a favor? Whatever he's doing, have him stop for a little bit. Okay. The noise one, just for a little bit while I finish here. Okay. Thank you. Bad luck guy has to bring the bad news now because you walked by. We'll see the odds of them actually doing what I asked, slim to none. But we shall see. Okay, so that's where the idea of the 7 things came from. And so I'm gonna launch into them. There's 7 of them. You guys know I like interaction. Looking at this little green dot and every once in a while looking down and seeing your faces while your faces are beautiful is sometimes just super boring. So please unmute yourself. This is not like the kind that is locked down like I do for the association sometimes where it's only just my face and you guys can't actually get in there. I see a couple of you are talking on chat. I'm not really monitoring it. I just look cool. You guys are just saying hi to each other. Unmute yourself, talk, ask a question, jump in. Makes it way more exciting for me while I'm on here. Hey, we have Elizabeth Arnold, Zillow trainer extraordinaire on the line. Thanks for coming on, Elizabeth.
I'm going to have to pop off here in just a quick minute. I just wanted to say hello and see your beautiful face.
Thanks for coming on, everybody. Elizabeth is a Zillow trainer and helps our team with all of our stuff that we're doing with Zillow and is constantly giving us ideas. And so she's a trainer as well. So thanks for being here. Calling direct from Seattle. I feel like we're really big right now. We got Seattle and Houston and different counties here in Southern California. We got Tahoe. This is cool. Okay, so numero uno, number one thing I'd be leveraging if I was a new agent right now, or an agent who was not new, but maybe not having the success. You guys, everyone's living on Instagram right now, right? And you see everyone's Instagram stories, and they're fucking awesome, by the way, right? Because everyone's living like a fantastic life of their dreams, okay? And sometimes that perception is maybe not reality, but you know what they say, perception is reality. So you see this and you're comparing yourselves to everything that they're doing, and you're like beating yourself up because you're not doing what they're doing. Okay, 1, maybe they're not doing as good as they say they're doing. 2, maybe they are doing as good as they say they're doing and you want to do better. So if you want to do better, 7 ideas. Number 1, SOI. Always go back to the SOI, right? Some of you have gigantic spheres. I know most of you, like I said, who are on this line. I know Jeff Moss has a gigantic sphere. I know Laurie has a pretty big sphere. I know Ruth is a little bit smaller from the time that she's been in the business, right? You got to be working your sphere. And I talked a little about this on a Car Coaching Chronicles a week or 2 ago. Here's what I would be doing right now, specifically. Tangible items is what I'm going to try to give today. I would be 1, calling all of them. That's a bear for you, Jeff. I get it. 900 people or so in a 35-year sphere is a little bit of a challenge, right? That's like 30 a day for 30 days. Really, is what it's going to equate out to for you, right? Or more like for a month and a half. Not happening. But I would call all of them. And then I would leave a voicemail for the ones that didn't pick up. And the ones that did pick up, I would have a great conversation with. Okay, that's the first thing I would do. And I would try to get it done. Most of you don't have a sphere that's 900 plus. I would try to get it done in the month of March before tax day now. That's exactly like 30 days, right? March 15th to April 15th. So that's a 30-day window for you to get to everybody. So figure out what that math is, figure out how many days you're going to work. If you got 100 people as your sphere and you got 21 work days, you take 100 divided by 21, that sounds like about 5 a day. Okay, whatever it is, call that many a day. Everybody gets contacted before April 15th. I have a stat that I'm going to share with you guys in just a second about why we want to do that. Second thing is, every single person that I left a voicemail for and I didn't talk to, I would send a text to a couple days from now, or a couple days from the day you left the voicemail. Hey, I reached out to you a couple days ago. Sorry, I missed you. Just wanted to reach out. Try to start the conversation on text, since they would not start it on. Try to start it on text, so they would not start it on a voice itself. Okay. See if you can get some engagement going that way. Okay, that's one as well. Now, some of the people you did talk to, I would also text them back a few days later. So really, you're texting everybody back. People that you talked to that you didn't talk to, it's a different message. The people that you did talk to, I would have it be a video text. Okay, the people that you did talk to, you've actually had a conversation now, video text. Don't just I wouldn't throw the video text at everybody, pain in the ass, right? But so use a cut and paste, copy and paste with everybody else, like the masses, because 80% of the people won't pick up their phones. But the 20% or so that did pick up their phones, you send them a video text now, just hold that phone out there. If you were smart with it, you wouldn't make them unique, because that'd be a pain in the ass too, right? So, hey, it was good talking to you the other day. I was just thinking about you again. We really need to connect. Let's set a time to talk again sometime soon. Hope everything continues to go well for you. Just letting you know I was thinking about you. Something like that can be used for everybody. Because you can say, I was just thinking about you and we just talked to you the other day, because by definition you did. That's why you're sending these people video text. So make a smart video text that you can send out to start getting this rapport going with them again. Here's a stat I'm going to give you. Let me get to this picture. And the reason why is because we're coming into listing season, everybody, right? And I want you to understand that March is the number 4 month over the course of a year in a 20-year history. March is the number 4 month in terms of number of listings taken. April is the number 2 month in terms of number of listings taken. May is the number 1 month in terms of listings taken. And June is the number 3 month. That right there, guys and gals, between now and the end of June, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. The order's a little messed up because it take May 1st, right? April 2nd. But in those 4 months, those are the best 4 months for listing properties. And your sphere, people who already kind of know you, like you, love you, trust you, refer to you, right? In theory. And if they don't, by the way, you might want to move them out of your sphere. They're not your sphere. They're your enemies, okay? But I would definitely pay attention to everybody right now who's in your sphere, because this is the time, odds are, the top 1/3 of the year for listing is in this next 4 month listing season time. Okay, questions about that? And Elizabeth had written something. I know she had to bounce. Something about, you guys can all go back and read it. It seems long. So you guys go back and read that. Questions about the sphere, what I just said though?
Yeah, Dan, it's Frank Lopez.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, so I get historically that's how the listings have played out. What about COVID? How is that going to change? How can that change things?
So let's not talk about 2020, because that was whack, right? It all just took a 3 month delay. Whatever it was, you add 3 months to it and it kind of followed suit. But I think 2021 will be right on target. I think 2021 was a little bit slower in January, February, right? I think you guys are seeing listings come on the market at a much faster clip right now. Would everybody agree with that? Is anybody like, no, it's even worse, there's no listings? Aren't you guys seeing listings come on the market a little bit more frequently right now? It seems to be picking up. So I think 2021, Frank, our spring season will actually be our spring season. And I think we are going to see our normal slowdown come running into the summer, because usually in Southern California, when summer hits, kids get out of school. And COVID world was weird, but in this 2021, kids will get out of school, be it real school or Zoom school. And now they're going to actually be able to go someplace. Like, I was buying Dodger tickets last night, guys and gals, right? I was buying Dodger tickets for later on this season. So they're going to be able to go someplace for the very first time in July and August. You don't think they're going to take advantage of that? And if they are taking advantage of that, guess what's going to happen? Like almost every July and August, except for COVID, right? You're going to have less buyers. because you're traveling, and you have less sellers starting to list because they don't want to put their home on the market right now because they're getting ready to go on a trip. So I think, Frank, 2021 is going to be actually pretty consistent with historical timeframes, unlike our wacky 2020. Does that make sense to you? I got your camera, but no mic. I'm going to go with that being a nod.
Yes.
There we go. So, and if you guys are tracking inventory right now, you're seeing, does anybody disagree? Like, am I the only one who tracks inventory numbers and is seeing this? Are you guys seeing inventory like kind of pop right now a little bit faster? Nobody's heads are moving.
Not as much as, no, not here. What, more selling than we're getting listed for sure. Like twice.
Yes, but are you getting more listed this month than you got last month?
Yeah, I'd say it's picked up since.
Yeah, so I'm not saying inventory is growing. I'm just saying listings are coming on faster than they were a month ago, right?
Yeah.
And a month ago, they're coming on faster than they were the week after Christmas. So yes, so you might still be seeing everything sell lights out instantly in your marketplaces, but you're seeing more new listings hit the market on a daily basis. But the demand is so high, you're still seeing them fly off the shelves. Okay, so that's numero uno. Number two, culture. Now, I know most of you on here, like I actually know every single person on this Zoom. If you guys are on Facebook Live, I can't really see those comments because I'm not that good at multitasking. I was just happy to finally get it to go on Facebook Live. So I don't know if you're writing any comments on there. I apologize, but I will go back after this Zoom and reply to any comments you've written. I'll go back, check them, and I can reply to them in writing to you. But I will tell you guys and gals that I know where all of you are, and most of you are in a really good spot, but culture, super important. If I was a new agent today, or an agent who wasn't having success today, then I would make a change in where I was at today. Because we talked about the Instagram stories, man, people are out there and crushing it. And some of them might be embellishing a little bit, right? But they are still crushing it to a certain degree. And so if you are not in a place where you are experiencing what you feel is enough support, enough help, if you are not in a place where you are getting just enough opportunities, if you feel like another office where you have a friend that works at is like, oh my gosh, this office is so much, does this and that and that. My office doesn't really do any of that. We're just kind of on our own. You really need to get to a spot of culture where you love going to work, you love the people you work with, and you love everything that's offered to you. So that's a little bit of a quicker one, but if I was a new agent today, I would choose carefully where I chose to land. And if I was an agent right now who is having difficulty, I would choose very carefully whether or not I was going to stay put or make the move now to get ahead of what's coming. Number three, this, back to Frank's point, will never go away now because of COVID. Point number three, your digital footprint must be twice as large by the end of this year as it is right now. And it should be twice as large right now as it was at this time last year. That's like fourfold from last March, everybody. Your digital footprint in this COVID world that we are coming out of, it looks like, fingers crossed, knock on wood right now, in this COVID world, people have gotten really good at using their devices and digital because they've really been forced to. My dad is like an iPad whiz right now. Still only on the things he wants to. Sometimes I'll say, look that up. He's like, I don't know how to do that. And then other times he's like buying crap on eBay. Like he's figured out how to get an eBay account and buy stuff and do those things, right? So, and if my 87-year-old dad is figuring out how to do that, everybody, I mean, we already knew people are on their devices, correct? But now we really have to increase our digital footprint because what did I say earlier? Perception is reality. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go out there and lie about your production or what you're doing, but it does mean you need to be present in people's lives digitally, right? You need to constantly be in front of them in their world digitally. It'd be fantastic if you could do it in other ways, but it's just too expensive. And so doing it digitally is something that you really need to come up with a game plan and focus on. For anybody who's been following Nolan as of late, right? I'll use Nolan as my example. He like came out of the gates hard and fast about 2 weeks ago. Just kind of, instead of just announcing himself as Nolan, I'm a realtor of the Refilano Group Realty. So did I get it right? Did I get it right?
Yeah,
Raffanello.
Raffanello.
I
like
did
the
get it
foot
right.
wave.
I just can't say your name. That's not my
That's okay.
fault.
Raffanello.
That's completely on your
It's not
parents.
easy.
But check it out, guys. Like the branding that he's been putting out there now with the new logo in the last 2 weeks, just rebranding himself as an agent, has been fast and furious. And we all need to, and Ruth as well. You've been out there doing a lot of stuff with your RBR and putting out your 10 tips and different things this week. Everybody needs to I follow most of you, as you can tell, on social media. Everybody needs to be really working on increasing their digital footprint, because I know that you might not believe in it yourself. Trust me, you're in the minority. You're like, oh, I don't really go there, so no one goes there. No, wrong. Everyone but you goes there. All right. So even whether you like it or you don't like it, you go there, look, or you don't go there, look, everybody else does. So you need to be increasing your digital footprint in every way imaginable, be it Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, lame as it is. I'm not a big fan of TikTok still, but I have got the accounts going, using Reels and IGTV when you're doing things on Instagram, like really increasing where people can see you and find you and get exposure to you in this digital world, because that is not going away. We are going more and more and more digital. We're not going to go less and less and less from this point forward. And so everybody needs to really be having an actual focus for what you're going to do to have a bigger digital footprint out there. All right. If you want to know if you have a real big digital footprint, just go in and start doing some Google searches that don't use your name specifically. Use your area, your neighborhood, your farm, that kind of thing, and see if you pop up on any of those. Okay. That's your little litmus test. Okay. That's 3 of the 7 so far. Any other questions on those 3 before we dig in? Where am I at? I'm about halfway and about 20 minutes in. Good. You guys are a quiet bunch so far. And a little bit of comments, but better than some, not as good as others. All right.
I'll admit,
okay, cool.
I'm trying to multitask, Dan, and fill out a counteroffer while listening.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, good for you. Now what you do is you put a picture of that on Instagram, filling out a counteroffer, and then I don't know what else you do, but there's a way to leverage that digitally, right? At least you put that piece out there, that you're filling out a counteroffer. We have we know somebody who, I want to say this weekend, put a post out about somebody who was had been on their team for like a week and was writing their first offer. Like, look, they're on our team and they're writing the first offer, and it's only been a week, right? But we know that no other subsequent posts came from that because offer did not get accepted, right? But it does make you seem busy, right? You want to seem, let's go back to the digital footprint. You want to seem busy. Let me make sure I didn't talk about this. I didn't. You want to seem busy to everybody else. If you're out previewing a home, if you're showing a home, if you're writing an offer, if you're countering an offer, if you're looking at offers, if you have a listing and you have 22 people on using showing time to show your listings, every single piece of media and exposure that you can use, you want to leverage all of those ideas, and then you get it into escrow, at home inspection, at appraisal, right? When you're getting it ready to go on the market, getting it ready, getting it staged, getting it photographed, hitting the market today, putting the sign up. There's all these different things that you can put out there day in and day out, and day in and day out, that literally just makes you seem like, holy shit, all they do is keep busy doing real estate. Every day they're doing something with real estate. And that's the perception you want to create. All right. And then everybody else will be super mad and jealous because they're like, oh my God, how come Nolan's that busy and I'm not? Right? Because Nolan's figuring out how to leverage his digital exposure, his digital footprint opportunities. All right. Number 4. I would really, really focus on, how was crooked? I went the wrong way. There we go. I would really focus on a farm. Now, for some of you on here, like most of you, because I've known you for a while, this is not a new thing. But I will tell you, it's also not going away. In fact, who here is a little bit worried about things like Zillow? Right? Zillow becoming a broker in your state, perhaps, and getting access to your MLS feeds, and now beginning to list their own properties. Does that concern anybody? Like, I wonder what's going to go down with that 800-pound, $35 billion company.
I'm more
Does anybody have
concerned
those
about,
things?
I'm more concerned about them taking the buyers. That's where it's probably going to end up.
Right. And they have more money to spend on Google pay-per-clicks than we do. You guys do know that's how they get their buyers, right? Right? It's not like brain surgery. They spend $1.2 billion. That was the math I heard last year. $1.2 billion they pay to Google in order to get a bunch of pay-per-clicks that send them to the Zillow site. And then from the Zillow site, then they resell those leads and do some things, right? So how are you going to compete with how many of you have a I have a pay-per-click account, right? You know what it doesn't have? It does not have $1.2 billion in it. I don't even know the math. I don't even think it has 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% of $1.2 billion in it, right? So we can't compete with that on the buyer front to a certain degree, Bob, you're right. And so what we've got to do is figure out, listen, if we can't compete, then we've got to pivot. Does that mean every buyer every time is going to go to Zillow? Absolutely not. And Bob and Laurie are a little bit more protected than the rest of you because they are in more second home or outside of urban areas, you know, Tahoe and wine country up there, Paso Robles. And so with that, you get a lot of people who just come up and still do things rather than in urban areas where they already live and they're just using Zillow a little bit more frequently. So it will go away some, but I do feel that you guys are a little bit more protected. But so how do you fight back against the 800-pound gorillas? And I just mentioned Zillow. You all know that I'm a Zillow, huge Zillow advocate. We have a huge Zillow spend. But that doesn't mean that we're still not always paying attention for what's happening to prepare ourselves, prepare against the downside, right? And so here's the thing. Farming. Buyers, would you guys agree buyers don't really get it? Buyers think like, oh, I just need somebody to write the offer for me, right? I just need somebody who can write the offer. It doesn't take expertise to write the offer. I don't need a skilled professional protecting my interest. I'm fine. Like they don't really get it on the buyer side. They'll just kind of use anybody sometimes for a buyer. Does that make sense? I don't know if you guys have seen that, but we've experienced that in very big. But sellers are more choosy. Sellers want an area expert. Sellers don't just list it when, like we have several people that people in our firm works with who they will use a family member to when they go out to buy a property because they just think feel like they're writing an offer and they have to use somebody in the family, but they will use us when it comes time for selling it because they know their family isn't like full time or specializing. It's a great example, right? So what do you do in a farm? You become dominant in that area. You become the go-to person in that area. So when they want to sell, they think of you. So we might be losing some of the buyers, Bob, because of, and it's not just Zillow, it's Realtor.com, it's HomeLight, it's Knock, it's everything. The list goes on and on and on. But from a seller standpoint, they still want somebody who they trust, who knows the area, who's dominant in the area, who's always in the area, who's the go-to person of the area. So if you want to fight back against the big guys, not today so much, but in 3, 4, 5 years, you need to be establishing yourself as a presence in a demographic and or geographic, probably both, area right now, so that you do become that go-to person. And so I would really encourage everybody to start farming. Like we've made the decision that like we'll let Zillow fight because it's like the Hunger Games out there right now, by the way, right? Who really wants buyers? I mean, we do, but we don't. You get me? So who really wants all the buyers? Because it's so hard. So we really want the listings, right? And then have everybody fighting for our buyers, for our listings, and all the buyers going crazy and fighting for them. So in order to fight back, maybe against those resources, if you don't have them, control the listings. And the best way to control the listings is going to be to control the inventory, right? Control the inventory, control the market. And then you don't have to be out there worrying about all those other things. So if you're going to farm, you got to do it wisely. Wisely means 1, you do everything, and 2, you do everything with a plan. All right. You sponsor local schools, you mail, you digital run ads in that area. You maybe take out Hulu ads or Pandora ads in those zip codes. See, advertising can be done so well and dialed in today that you can really work on all of those different things, but you can't just throw money at everything. You've got to have a plan that goes with it. And you've got to have a plan that you can afford. So this is the biggest mistake most people make. They decide to go out and start farming, and then they run out of money in 3 months for what their plan was because they didn't have a good budget and they didn't get anything out of it. So then they stop farming because it doesn't work. Guys and gals, if farming would pay off in 3 months, everybody would do it and it would work for everybody. It doesn't. It's a longer term play. So you've got to stay in there longer. So you've got to have a plan that you can support and fund for at least a year, probably 2 years, right? Think about that. At least a year, probably 2 years. And that might be like, well, geez, Dan, my farm's 1,000 homes. I can't do that. That's just too much money. If I don't get anything out of it, I don't know that I'll be able to float it for a whole year or 2 years. That means your farm's too big. Dial it down. Get yourself into a farm of 250. Dominate that 250. You know that in that 250 homes, 4% of them will sell each year, right? Those are just the numbers. Statistically, 4% of those homes will probably sell each year. 4% of 250 sounds somewhere around 10 to me. Is that right? Is that good math? That's not good math. 250, 1%, 2, 8, 8 to 9. Every year, 5 years. That's 40 home opportunities, guys and gals, right? In a 5-year plan. In a 2-year plan, it's 16 opportunities. But if you just do it for a month or two, you're new. You're like, that's my farm. Unfortunately, nobody in your farm knows it's your farm, right? Because you just got there. So you got to be there long-term, and you got to have a plan, and you've got to have a budget that you can sustain and follow for an extended period of time to make it pay for itself. And then once you figure out what that budget is, then you can figure out the appropriate home size that goes with it. Does that make sense to everybody? You guys have any individual questions? We're currently running streaming ads on like Hulu and ESPN and stuff like that. We're currently running Pandora ads that are hitting them on streaming radio. And we figured out how to do all of that for a pretty good budget. We're currently mailing, twice a month. We're currently dropping a pin in the farm on a weekly basis, running a different ad. We're taking care of both elementary schools in the area. We're sponsoring HOA events. Like, it's a blitz attack, guys and gals, but then dominating the farm, dominating the opportunities.
What do you think how can you start a farm? Like, what's a reasonable budget? It's challenging to figure out all those different costs and what's the best ROI to start with.
And in the beginning, you might not be able to do all those things that I just gave you. This is going into the 12th year now that we've been in this farm. And this is the very first year that we've incorporated radio and TV. Okay. So it's been a very long period of getting to that. But this is a almost $2 million a year business coming out of one farm now, right? Just that one farm. So when you get to that point, you can start to continue to reinvest your profits, reinvest into it, right? So we didn't start there. So I would say somewhere around probably 200-ish is a good number, 200 to 250-ish. If you use EDDM, they will probably give you a 600 home route where the 250 is in it. But if you were to just mail the 250 first class, it would cost you the same as it does to use EDDM to hit all 600. So I'd really focus on the 200 to 250 and just mail the whole 600 in the EDDM route, because it's like 400 free mailers by doing it that way rather than first class mail.
Makes sense.
Eventually, when you're ready to grow your farm, you've already been mailing them. How easy is that? You don't even have to add mailing to the plan. But for right now, your focus and your attention is really on those 200, 250, Ruth. Dropping the pin, it's going to hit a little bit of a different area too. But you can run effective ads on Facebook/Instagram for $1 a day, 30 days a month, that gives you some exposure to being in their living rooms on a Tuesday. Last night, they're watching the Grammys. I guarantee you 9 out of 10, 99 out of 100 people last night watching the Grammys on their couches, just like on my couch. Even my dad was on his pad, right? Come on. Everybody was watching the Grammys and on their device, scrolling through some kind of feed. When they're scrolling through that feed, they're seeing your sponsored ad potentially. Only costs you $1 for the day. Will everybody see it? No, you only paid $1, but some people will see it. Okay. So I think, Ruth, 250 homes with a 600 thing. It's going to cost you about 150-ish probably to print and mail them. I'm going to say twice a month would be 330 for the digital, $1 a day, 330. That gives you an example. I bet for 350, you could do the mail them twice a month, have the ad run to them every day, and start getting some exposure. Now, if that's too much, dial it back down, go to 100.
Okay, thanks.
At
That helps
100,
me.
you even decide to maybe do first class mail, right? And you guys could door drop, by the way. Door dropping is what you do when you don't pay the postman to go out there and sweat or get wet, like today in the rain. You go out and do it yourself. And you go out there and drop on the doors yourselves. All kinds of rules about that. Each one of you need to talk with your individual brokers about what the rules are and what you guys are doing as far as safety and masks and gloves and sterilization and dropping on doors. And I'm not your broker. I'm not telling you guys what to do. We got different states in here. We got different counties in here, right? So that's going to be really up to how your world in your region. Some of the states are purple, red, orange in California. Some of your guys, Kimberly can do anything she wants. She's in Texas and they don't get COVID in Texas, right? So she's like off to the races, can do whatever she wants, open houses and stuff, because they've got the bubble over Texas, which is awesome. Good for you, Kimberly. All right. So number 4.
Dan,
Before I
can I
move on
ask
to
one
number 5.
quick question?
Go.
One quick question, sorry, about going back to the farming, and I'd love some insight from the more experienced agents on the call. The importance of selecting the right community, like what you look for. I've heard there's certain statistics you should look for as far as owner occupied numbers. Obviously, you want to see if there's anyone else working that farm. Any key points like that, which would be good for a newer agent? Do you guys look
I have
into
some.
that?
I'm waiting for everybody else to talk though.
Okay. I think I once heard like, something where like 68, 70% owner occupied is a good place to focus. I don't know if there was anything else I was potentially
So I'll give you some
missing.
best practices. And then I
Okay.
forgot to touch on this point. And I'm glad that Elizabeth is here to hear this point. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to touch on this point, and then I'm going to come back and answer your question, Nolan. See, here's the thing, guys and gals. When buyers are moving into a neighborhood, they don't know anybody in that neighborhood, because in their neighborhood they live, but they don't know anybody in their neighborhood. That's why they're going to those third-party sites, right? That's why they're clicking on Zillow. That's why they're clicking on contact agents, so they can find out and learn more about it. Okay, because they don't know anybody who's in that neighborhood. But check it out: if you do live in that neighborhood, you don't have to go to those third-party sites necessarily to click the button. You know who works your neighborhood. They leave stuff at your door all the time. They mail you all the time. They're always in your face, in front of you. Does that make sense? So that's why controlling the inventory from a farming standpoint and getting those listings is so effective versus competing against the third-party sites with billions of dollars of ad revenue generation models like Zillow has. That's why they're so good at it, because the buyers, they don't know who works in that area. They don't know who controls that area necessarily. So they go online, they find somebody it looks like seems knowledgeable, right? And then that's how they get to find their way to the buyers. That's the difference between a buyer and a seller right now, and how they're making decisions and choices on who to work with, at least in the beginning. Does that make sense to everybody?
And
Okay, now to answer your question.
45% of our traffic right now, 45% of our traffic are first-time home buyers.
45 first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 50% of those home buyers that are active on our site, the ones that are way down the funnel, are going to transact. 50% of them will transact within 12 months.
Okay.
And
Good stats.
81% will choose you as an agent based on their very first impression with you on that very first phone call.
There you go, guys. So good stats. All right, Nolan, here's some key stats. 1, don't farm at a place that has no turnover, where people tend to go to die. Like, I've moved into my neighborhood and I'm never going to move. And there's some neighborhoods out there that are so great, like no one ever moves until they die and the kids sell the house.
That's
right?
my neighborhood.
Yeah, so you don't want to farm there. You need turnover rate, right? So don't get a turnover rate that's in the 1s and the 2s. 3 is even really marginal. Find something 4 or higher. Okay. And in California, most of you can rely on your title rep to help you figure out those numbers. Other states, not really sure. So that's 1, turnover rate. 2, most of the time I would suggest that you don't go where somebody else is already dominant and you're having to fight for your life to keep up with somebody who controls everything that goes down in there. That's not often that somebody controls more than 15 to 20% of the market. like very infrequent. It'd be super hard to find that one. So if somehow you had really bad luck and you did decide that area and then you found out that someone's owning it, I think I'd go elsewhere. Like, you're just making your life so hard. They've already been there for so long and established themselves. You're not trying to just establish yourself as the go-to person. Now you're trying to unseat a go-to person to become the go-to person, twice as difficult. So also make sure that that is happening. Occupancy rate, yes. Occupancy rate, you don't want it to be where you're spending a lot of time giving stuff to the tenants, right? You want people who are actually sellers, who are you talking to and meeting and having conversations with and mailing or dropping or whatever too. You want the sellers to be getting those pieces. I would actually say you'd probably like it to be over 80%. I know you said 70, and 70 would be in an absolute worst case scenario, I guess. Anything in the 60s you don't touch. 70s, everything else would have to be perfectly dialed in to make it work. 80% plus is where you want to be. I would also only do single family homes, right? I would not do condos. Condos sell for less than single family homes. Can we all agree on that point? Right? And so it costs the exact same amount of time to knock it and the exact same amount of money to mail it and to drop a pin in it. So if I'm going to spend time, I'd rather do time at 850 rather than 550, right? It's just simple math. So I would focus on single family homes rather than condos if I was going to be choosing a farm. What else? What else are best practices? Not gated. Gated, bad practice. If the neighborhood is gated, it very much limits everything you can do. So I would stay away from gated communities. And in a perfect world, they have an active HOA. Now, you don't choose it based on this, but if you're looking at two different farms and they're pretty equal across the board and one does and one doesn't, join the one with the active HOA, because now you can get involved with the HOA for doing events and participating at a higher level in the community and being the go-to person along that front too. A lot of our areas don't have them, so it wouldn't be an issue. But if you're comparing apples to apples and one doesn't and one doesn't, that's the one you choose. Does that help? Anything I left off on there that you've heard about, thought about?
That was good. I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Number 5.
Hey, Dan,
Yes, Frank.
before we move on, can we talk a little bit more about Zillow?
Oh man, Elizabeth left too. But yes, we can. But then think, damn, she's gone. But what do you got?
So you're talking about we need to worry about Zillow in the next 3+ years. I haven't been real worried about Redfin. Redfin's obviously much better capitalized than I am, but they haven't made a dent in the listing market. Do we need to worry about Zillow and what they're going to do on the listing side in the next few years?
Yes. Why? I don't know. Let me preface that. My answer is automatic yes. Anytime Zillow decides to throw money at a project, you should worry about it. Now, why? Let me quantify that now, because the automatic answer is you always worry about somebody who's got billions of dollars to compete against you. I worry about Amazon getting into the real estate marketplace. Are they doing it right now? No, it doesn't mean I still don't worry about it. So Zillow's buying homes in California, right? And they are reselling them with employee agents now, just kind of like Redfin has always done. Instead of listing with agents, they're reselling them. Only the ones that they buy themselves. But they are buying them. So that takes away potential listing opportunities from real estate agents, right? It used to be that they relisted them with their premier partners, and so that was great if you're a premier partner, you had a chance of getting it back. But now they're not, so now you don't. So that does limit your listing opportunity depending on how much they can scale this. So that's one thing to worry about. And then the second is we still get the inventory, which is great because they're not holding them. So they buy them. We lose the listing opportunity, but they are putting them on the open market. So they are creating inventory still for us, for our buyers. So that's a good thing, but it's not as good as having listing and buying opportunity. REOs also created buying opportunities for our buyers back in the day, right? But it was brutal because only a handful of agents were getting those REO listings. Now, will Zillow ever get to that point? I don't think so. Will they do more than Redfin? Absolutely. They're just better at it. And they're taking more risks, and they got different leadership in place, and they've got a different set of goals. And Rich Barton is freaking scary, right? Super cool dude, by the way, right? I've had an opportunity to meet him a couple of times. Awesome individual, so smart. And anybody that smart with that much money, always scared of. If that helps answer your question. I'm not sure if I was specific enough, but it's really hard to be specific because there's nothing really there right now other than always be afraid of competing against Rich Barton.
Okay, but it sounds like it sounds like what we need to worry about, or not worry, but it sounds like most of what Zillow would be generating on the listing side would be coming from their iBuyer purchases that they would relist then through their preferred agents.
Absolutely. Zillow's been around since 2007, and since 2007 has never figured out a way to effectively get listing leads and sell them to us. For those of you who've used Zillow, you've noticed that they can only get us buyer leads. Trust me, if they could have figured out how to get listing leads and sell them to us, they would have. They can't. You know why? Because the farmers are controlling most of the listing leads. They were never able to crack that little thing because people wouldn't go to Zillow to find them. They just go to the neighborhood where their people were. So they're never able to break into that. Now, buying themselves, different story. So now that they're buying them themselves and then reselling them, that's a little piece to worry about. But if we can still dominate the farm, all right, if we can still get in there and be the go-to person, maybe we get to compete against Zillow. Maybe Zillow gives them their offer and we get to go in and give them our presentation about what we're going to do to get them their price and how our price will maybe be better, maybe not. We don't know what price they gave them, right? So it is something to worry about, but it's really on the listing side because they've never been able to sell listing leads. So now what they're doing is just buying them themselves.
Okay, cool.
All right. Number 5. Right. This is my impression. Talked about it just a second ago. I'm a listing agent. I have 27,000 people lined up to sell my home this weekend. And I say, good luck. May the odds be forever in your favor in these Hunger Games of working with buyers in 2021. Right. Because absolutely brutal. One of the houses that one of our agents had, she's actually on here on this Zoom. She had over 200 showings in 2 days or something ridiculous, 4 days, and over 40 offers generated, right? That is sick. And that is the real estate market we find ourselves in. It's truly like the Hunger Games. And so if you're going to compete in the Hunger Games of 2021, working with buyers, then you need to be doing a couple things differently. Let me talk what 2 of those things are. Some of you are going to lose your shit, right? But here's what it is. 1, you can't have any contingencies. 2, comps are irrelevant. Throw them away. Don't even look at them. Comps mean nothing. And if you want to have a chance of getting accepted, plan on having no contingencies or maybe hanging on to just 1. Definitely consider losing the loan. Definitely consider losing the appraisal, but not with the loan. Choose one or the other. Or get rid of both of those and keep your inspection. Sometimes keep your appraisal, but lose your inspect. You got to figure out how to get rid of most of your contingencies, guys and gals. If you want to keep your contingencies, you don't get to win when you're competing against 40 other people. One of them, if not several, will remove most, if not all of their contingencies. How are you going to beat that? And 2, one of them, if not several, have gone like this. I don't want to tear this up. This is my piece of paper for my notes. I won't be able to find them to finish. They have gone like this with the comps because they mean nothing, right? Take the last comp, add at least 10% on it, then cross your fingers and bury that little St. Joseph's that you can buy down at the OCR board, right, in the ground to hope you get the house, because that's the kind of luck it's going to take to get a house, even if you write it 10% over last comp, which was the highest comp in the history of ever. That competitive. So if you want to write offers right now, you need to be aware of this because you've only got a certain shelf life with your buyers. If you write an offer and an offer and an offer, and then the next week an offer and an offer and an offer, and the third week an offer and offer and offer, and you're 0 for 9, they're probably going to write offer 10 with a different agent, right? You got a limited shelf life with these people who are working with you to prove yourself. And if you can't prove yourself, right? Nolan's sitting with Shea Stadium there behind him. Pretty soon, if you just keep striking out at the bat, I'm gonna use my baseball analogy since he's got the bleacher seats behind him. If you just keep striking out, coach is gonna put you down in the minor leagues and bring another player to fill your slot. And that's exactly what some of these buyers are doing when you keep striking out and can't get these offers accepted. So you've got to figure out how to properly explain to the buyers what's going on. And you've got to come up with your own plan for tossing the comps, being competitive with your price, and getting some of the contingencies out of there that they don't have every protection known to man. In California, we're spoiled. Those of you who are non-California, well, most of you are. California, we're very spoiled because we're a buyer protected state. Like people who are in non-buyer protected states that are in what we consider seller protected states, they see our contracts and they think we're nuts. They're like, we would never accept that contract, ever. There's so many things that protect the buyer. Why would we possibly, as a seller, expose ourselves to having them be able to walk away at any point for any reason in 17 days or 21 days? But in California, it's the norm. So we're used to it, right? But we need to figure out how to write better offers in order to be more competitive, because it's only getting more competitive right now, it seems like, not less. And so you've got to figure out how to do a good job of explaining to your buyers what's going on, why the comps are not exactly relevant, and what contingencies you're going to recommend they remove, leaving one behind or so that you can still use as your get out of jail free card, but it comes across as very appealing on the offer when being presented and comparing to the others. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Questions about this one? Like if your buyers are willing to, first of all, I've always thought the loan contingency was kind of bull, right? If you're like, well, I need a loan contingency to make sure I can get a loan. You shouldn't be buying a house. If you are writing an offer and you don't know that you get a loan, like you probably shouldn't be buying that house. All right. So you should already be dialed in that, yes, I can afford this house. Like I get why the other states are like, that's nuts. Why do you let people who don't know if they have a loan lined up possibly tie you up on the market for all this time? So removing the loan contingency, I think would be one that I would get rid of. If you don't know you can buy a house, go figure that shit out, then come back and let me know. All right, that's one. Two, the inspection contingency, right? The inspection contingency is something that you guys should get really small, really fast. And if you're like, well, I can't remove it in under 14 days or 17 days, I got to get the inspection done. Get a new inspector, right? Get an inspector who has some horsepower, who can get inspections done in 3 to 5 day window, and you can have 3 to 5 day inspections out there. Okay, write the contract. This is just dirty pool, everybody, but do it anyway. Write the contract is as is. You do understand that according to the California Association of Realtors contract that you're already writing, it says as is in it. Like it's already a predetermined part in the contract in the state of California. So you're writing as is simply restating the fact that you're already writing what's there. It doesn't mean you can't go back and renegotiate. We all go back and renegotiate our as-is contracts anyway. So why not go ahead and state it? Because here's the deal. If you get the offer accepted and now you're negotiating with the seller, guess what? You're the only person negotiating the repair requests with the seller. There's not 39 other people at that point negotiating with the seller. And I fought this point long and hard with one of our agents on here, Shannon. And I finally kind of come around to it that, okay, I get it. Here's my take on it. All contracts in the state of California already written as is, so why restate it? Ha, I forgot. So many agents are stupid. Totally slipped my mind, right? So we can't pretend that everybody's as smart as you. We can't pretend that everybody's a professional out there. There are some people who are maybe not as professional as we would like, right? And so for those agents, we've got to make it really simplistic for them. So writing that offer in there is something that I would consider doing. Writing that part in there as is. You can still go back and renegotiate it. The contract lets you renegotiate it at any point. And Shannon put something on comments. I'm not going to read it, but you guys should all go check the chat real quick. So you've got to figure out how to explain to your clients and figure out what your strategy is going to be to write better offers, or you are going to have a really rough year working with buyers. It's just the way it is. All right. Your job is to help your buyers and do what it takes to get them into a home. Make sure they can get the loan. Keep the appraisal contingency. If you keep the appraisal contingency, whoever writes offers and says to themselves, I don't think it's going to appraise, right? Everybody pretty much, right? Or you're like, well, you're trying to tell the buyer, or you have a listing and the buyers are telling you, well, we didn't write it higher because we don't think it will appraise. If you have the appraisal contingency, guys and gals, and you write the highest offer, and then they accept your offer, and you kept the appraisal contingency. When the appraisal comes in and it's not enough, you get to what? Renegotiate. And who are you negotiating against? Just the sellers, not 39 other offers, right? So if you keep your appraisal contingency in place and write it really high to get it accepted, you then get the opportunity to renegotiate to an appraised price or something that at least you're satisfied with, and not having to compete against everybody else. Just a couple of tips there.
You don't think the listing agent was gonna figure that one out?
Have you met a lot of listing agents?
Yes, I have, but still I mean, that's a no-brainer.
And you know who's who, right? Like, you know, some people, like, you're like, oh yeah, that person, a lot of business, super smart. Like, and every once in a while, like, they haven't had a listing since 2016, right? Boom, right? Pick on them. It is what it is. You have to take advantage of what you can take advantage of for your buyers. But yeah, you go to write an offer on, let's who's not on this one, Flo Bullock, right? Flo Bullock does a fair amount of business out there, right? You write an offer like that on Flo Bullock's, and John, who checks all their contracts or whatever, they're going to call you out on that. They're going to be like, yeah, we're not taking that. We know it's not going to be that high, and it's going to, so they're going to want the appraisal contingency to go with that crazy high offer. But a lot of agents won't. So it won't work every time. Nothing works every time, by the way, but we have to be creative is what I'm saying. But don't let it's not going to appraise, so I'm not going to write it that high. Don't let that stop you. Have you guys had some properties appraised, by the way, who you thought had no chance of appraising? Have you seen that happen? Right? I don't know who did that appraisal. Like, did they take Helen Keller out with them to do it? I'm not really sure, but it still found a way to appraise somehow. So even though we don't think it should, doesn't mean that it sometimes won't. So if you have the opportunity to use that strategy on occasion, use it. Okay? Keep a contingency in there somewhere to protect your buyer, but don't keep all of them. It just makes it an unappealing offer. And throw away the comps. Number 6, events. What am I doing on time here? 6 minutes. All right. Events. We're allowed to go out really soon. Like, gyms open today, indoor dining open today for everybody, not just those 25% of those restaurants who are breaking the rules and doing indoor dining anyway. Right? At least in Orange County. I think LA County, you guys are still in COVID jail. But in Orange County, a lot of things opened up today for us. And so as the summer progresses, like I said, they said Dodger Stadium can have 25% capacity, which is 13,500 fans. Right now, at least 25% capacity for Rams games, which is going to be like 18,000 fans. So people are going to be able to start going out to sporting events. The local HOA contacted us on Friday and said, hey, it looks like we're going to be able to do our concerts in the park this summer. Do you guys want to sponsor those again? Hell yeah, right, was the answer. Like, we're going to be able to go out and do things again this summer. Still going to be a little different, still going to be some masks, still going to be some distance, but we're going to be able to go out and about to a certain degree, it sounds like, right? You guys need to figure out a way to be present in these events that are in your own communities, okay? Now, if you work in Mission and you live in San Clemente, and there's something going on one night in San Clemente where you live and Mission where you want to work, you need to choose the Mission one, right? You need to go where your business is going to be at. That's why some of you choose to work and live in San Clemente in this example, because now you can double up. But, we live in Mission Viejo, but farm in an area in Laguna Hills, right? One of our big agents. We're going to miss the Mission Viejo event if it's on the same night and go to the one in Laguna Hills, because that's where the business is. That's where our presence is. That's where we try to establish dominance. That's where our marketing dollars get spent. So you need to do the same. You need to figure out what events are going to be happening, how to promote them, how to get in front of them, how to be involved in them, how to be participatory in them, how to be at them, being a presence. Events are going to be really big for 2021 because we can finally do them again. It's been so long. Like, I'm really curious to see what other tier happens and what goes on with the CAR, right? What are they going to do with open houses? How are they going to start to open that back up at the next tier? Different things like that, right? Because now if you can have an open house event again, tacos at your open house, stuff like that. We haven't been able to do that for over a year. And that you can't do that yet, but that could be coming if this downward trend continues. Right now, there's less than 7 cases per 100,000 people in Orange County, right? My son, for the very first week, hasn't had to get tested to get in the pool this week to play water polo because we've dropped below that testing threshold. So if that trend continues and we can get that down to 1 or 2, we're gonna have a lot of opportunities for events, maybe not spring, but by summer. So we need to take advantage of them and use them to the fullest. Make sense? And number 7, everybody should be investing in purchasing some sort of exposure. We also call that maybe leads. Sometimes it's not direct leads, sometimes it's exposure. But everybody needs to have a budget. The years of Mike Ferry, cold call, no budget, your budget is your phone bill, real estate, have gone away forever. COVID has now made sure of that. If there wasn't already a nail in the coffin, now all the nails are in the coffin. There needs to be other outlets and money being spent and budgets happening and marketing occurring rather than just hitting some phones. And you still can't door knock, right, by the way, right? I know people in Orange County are door knocking, but I'm pretty sure that's still against the rules. But at some point this summer that might open up. But even if you do go out and door knock, more power to you, you should, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be spending some money marketing in your business. So buying exposure. So buying brand recognition, buying leads on pay-per-click, playing the Zillow game has probably gotten out of control, expensive for most people now. So I don't know that I would suggest that, right? Like my personal number now has a 2 attached to it and 5 digits. You guys can figure out what that math looks like. 5 digits, a 2 attached to it, right? That's our monthly Zillow spend right now. So that's over 20,000. If you can't play at that level, you probably can't play, is how it's shaping out to be right now in the Zillow world. But there are lots of other opportunities out there for you. I talked about the $1 a day on Facebook. I talked about the spending some money more on money on mailing, dropping those pins. You've got to figure out a way to buy exposure. And Ruth talked about budget earlier, right? You can spend a lot of money to buy exposure, or you can spend a little bit of money. Most of you will be somewhere in between, right? But you do have to figure out, what is my exposure budget? Okay, maybe it's only $100 a month. Maybe it's only $50 a month. If you only have $50 a month, you got to be very careful with where you spend that $50 a month, because that's the only thing you have going for you. If you're spending 5 figures, you can make some mistakes because you have so much stuff out there. It's a little bit more forgiving. But if you're only going to do $50 or $100 a month, really give it some thought, because you've got very limited places of where you can spend it at, right? Or with the very limited and what you can get from it. And so it's super small, good, but you have to pay super attention to it as well. So, but you've got to find a way to buy leads. And then of course, if you're in a spot that you can't buy leads, you got to find an office that helps you, that provides leads. You got to find an office that's giving you leads. You got to find an office that's giving you some other kind of support. And if you can't do it yourself, then you got to be out there with somebody who is helping you do it. And so if that's not your office, then you need to find an office. But to just not do it is no longer an option 2021 moving forward. It's a recipe for just getting out of the business faster. All right, questions. There are my 7. Boom, boom. Because very detailed notes, I know. But I do take some time laying it out. But once I have thought about the topic, usually just having the bullet point for me is enough to go on. But those are the 7 things that we had talked about over alcohol that we thought would be awesome. All of my best ideas come with beer or wine involved. Usually that's just how it frees up my mind and I get more creative. So those are the things that we thought, new agent who's not new, but still wants more business, what would be focusing on? Any questions about this? Thank you, Mark, for jumping in from the IE. Patty from over in LA County. Who else did I miss here? Norvell up in LA. Cassie, our local Orange County realtor superstar. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I will put this recording onto YouTube probably tomorrow or the next day. Go to the GSD YouTube channel. So if you guys are not following me on social media, you should be following me on social media at the GSD code. Everything's sort of transitioning over there. It is my I don't charge profile plan. And so I've got a Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, the GSD code. Go follow those because I'll tell you when I'm doing free stuff like this, it's out there. It has all the great content. That's where you'll go to see the YouTubes and the replays and all that good stuff. So the GSD code is where you guys should be following me at. Of course, I still have my By Dan Smith that I post a little bit more personal stuff on. Of course, I have Anvil, which we post all of our firm stuff on. But GSD is where I'm putting all the free training and coaching and resources and Dan's give back plan for everybody. So make sure you go there. All right. Any other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Thanks,
I
Dan.
keep seeing
You're
Ruth
not
and thinking
on-
her hands up. Ruth, every time I look at your picture, I think you're raising your hand.
If
Because the whole
everybody
thing is like,
isn't already scheduled to go to the annual meeting that starts at 11 for Orange County Realtors, if you want to be a part of that and see what we've kicked off for the whole past year. So hopefully
that's
we'll
right
see
now.
y'all
It's
there.
like literally right now. Right?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
we're
right now,
zooming
everybody.
from you to Zoom to there.
Jump on the next one. Thanks for being
See ya.
here. Talk to everybody later.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks,
Thanks so
Dan.
much.
Thank you,
You're
Dan.
welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm staying on real quick because I want to read these comments. If any of you are still wondering why I'm here, since you stayed on, if you guys want to wrap, you can. I just didn't read them because I was so into my thing. I just want to see what everybody wrote. Ruth. Thank you. Thank you. Cool. All right. And for you guys who are here, before I jump, I don't have anything until 11:30. How's it going? What's up?
Hey, Dan, I got a question. It's Frank
What do you got?
again. So
Frank, you do that like I don't know your voice. I love that.
it's been a while. This is my COVID voice.
Oh, there you go. Your COVID voice sounds wow, incredibly similar to the non-COVID voice.
So I've got a question for you. You're spending a crap load of money on Zillow.
Yep. We hit 21,000 this month.
And Zillow's selling buyer leads. I'm a little confused.
Yep. But we convert them enough to be profitable.
Okay. So in your part of the world, you can still take a buyer lead and convert.
So yes, there is a skill set to it, right? There is a skill that goes into it. And our agents, depending on who they are and their level of experience and their level of skill, will get different types of leads. There are connections, which is a live person on the phone, versus nurtures, which is they still send you the thing. Somebody sent an email or text, I'd like to tour this home and like to ask questions about this home. The nurtures go to the less experienced people, where the connections go to the more experienced people. But I would say, let's just, and our budget wasn't that last year, by the way. Last year, our budget was probably closer to 7. Let's just call it 7 a month over the course of 2020. And I would say, let me do some quick math. We did 9 plus 8 plus 8 plus 3, 28 times, let's just call it 900 on average equals that 25. I'd say we did about 25 million in production last year off of Zillow buyers times 0.025 is 630,000. I was on a 50-50 split, 315,000 probably to me, minus my 7 times 12, 84,000, 231,000.
Okay, but we were still, the market wasn't